Hello everyone. This is a tutorial video on how to adjust a karate uniform. So some people, when they're training, they're doing their punching and kicking, either their sleeve is too long or their trousers are too long, and it makes it really difficult to train. So this video is intended to be a beginner-friendly video that assumes no sewing experience and no sewing machine. So first of all, you're going to need a few things to do this job here. You're going to need some needles. Next up, you're going to need some thread. I'm using black thread in this video for display purposes, but you'll want to use white thread on your actual garment. You're going to need a thimble here. This is to use the needle. You'll need some pins to hold the material down in place. This here is a needle threader. They're not required for the job, but it makes it a lot easier to thread the needle. You'll need some scissors as well, a ruler for measuring, and just a pen on the side just for marking things down. So what is particular about a karate or martial arts uniform is the cuff here. On the karate uniform here, we've got the edge of the sleeve finished with these rows of stitches here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make an adjustment on this cuff while preserving the pre-built cuff here, so that once you're done with the job, it won't be entirely visible that it had been adjusted here. So I'm not going to be actually adjusting this particular sleeve here. Instead, I'm going to be working with a mock sleeve that I had just constructed earlier here. But just as well here, this is my example sleeve here, and in this case, your arm would go through it. So first of all, before doing the job here, you're going to identify how much you want to shorten your sleeve by here. In this example here, I'm going to assume 6 centimeters and just say I need to shorten this sleeve here by 6 centimeters. So before you start doing anything, the first thing you're going to do is invert the sleeve here. So this is the outside or the right side of the sleeve here, and you're going to turn it inside out to expose the wrong side here, just like this here. Now I'm going to do this on my mock sleeve here. So here I have my example sleeve here, and I'm going to turn it inside out to expose the wrong side here. The wrong side is the surface that is facing your body when you wear it. So this is the inverted sleeve here now. So what we're going to do next is shorten or fold over here. So here we have the inverted sleeve here, and we're going with the assumption of shortening by 6 centimeters here. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to take our ruler and just mark 6 centimeters on the sleeve here. We're going to mark it from the edge of the cuff here that we can see, and then go 6 centimeters from there. So now next, what we've done here is we marked a spacing here from the edge of the cuff to 6 centimeters. That's the amount that I'm shortening by here. So next we're going to pin the garment in that particular measurement here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this point here and the edge of the cuff, and we're going to bring them together just like this here. So I'm going to fold this over and place it just like this here. Then we'll pin it down. Just like this here. And then we're going to repeat this just around the edge of the garment here. So here I have my pins placed down here, just as such here. This is just to hold it in place. Now here what we're going to do is we're going to do a basting stitch here just to hold, act as a temporary stitch here. So I'm going to use this opportunity to show you how to use a thimble here. So I'm just going to pull out a needle here. So the thimble goes on the middle finger just like this here. And the way you use it is you hold the needle perpendicular to the thimble, and you use this to push the needle through like this here. So if I'm going with this here, how it works is I place it through, and then I go just like that there. So the thimble and the needle are perpendicular. I go through the material just like that and such. So we're going to start off with a temporary stitch first, and then we're going to remove the pins here. When cutting the thread here, I like to cut at a 45-degree angle here. So here, cut. So this here is just threading the needle here. The camera doesn't show it very well here, but I've got the needle threader here and the needle, and I'm going to first place this through here, and then I can put the thread right through just like this, and then pull this through. Going to pull some thread here, then cut the thread. Okay. So from here, we're going to start off our stitch, our temporary stitch, and then we're going to remove the pins afterwards. So to do this, what I do is I take the needle with the thread here, put it through, just like that there. Use the thimble to push the needle through. And now this is the start of the stitch here. So I'm going to put a little bit here. Then I'm going to do 3 stitches like this here at the start. So that's 1. I'm going to make a little loop here and then place the needle through that loop just like this here. And I'm going to do this 3 times just to anchor the stitch here. So that's 1. Come through. That's 2. And then another one here. Push it through, make a loop, and go through that loop. You can give that a bit of a tug there just to check that your stitch is there. And now I'm just going to do a very quick stitch here just to hold it in place, and then I'm going to remove the pins after this here. So a basting stitch is a temporary stitch with a wide stitch length here. It's not intended to remain there in the final garment there, or the final piece. So now I've done my temporary stitching here and just removed the pins here. Now what you can do at this point here is you can turn it back to the correct side here, and you can do a fit test with this here. This is how the sleeve looks right now at the moment with our temporary stitching. So you can try it on right now at this stage and see, does this fit okay? Is it too long, too short? And if it's just fine here, then you can go back to the desk here and then just invert it once more and then get back to work here. So now that we have the temporary stitching in place here, what we're going to do next is go on with the actual stitching here. This is the fine stitching here. So I've got my needle and thread here, and my thimble on my middle finger here once again here. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the running back stitch here with a much tighter stitch length here. Now you want if you want a stable garment, you want to go with a tight stitch length, not this loose stitch here. This is just for temporary work here. But the stitch technique is going to be just the same here. You're going to take the needle, place it through, then this is going to anchor the thread here. Going to go through like that. Then make a second stitch. Get that loop here. Place the needle through that loop. And do this, let's say 2 times in this example here. So 1, the second loop, 2. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to do 3 stitches forward and then 1 backwards here. So from here, I'll go 1, 2, and 3. Just like this here. Put it through. And then from there, we're going to do 1 stitch backwards here. So I started my stitch ended here, so I'm just going to put the needle right through here. Go 1, and 2, and I'm just poking the needle a very small amount here just to get that small stitch length here. And that's a 3. And then we'll continue that all the way around to the rest of the garment here. Now, as you've gone through the sleeve here, once you reach the edge here or the existing seam here, you might find that the material is a bit too thick for you to punch through your needle here. So it's perfectly fine to give it a bit of breathing space here and leave the stitches just a bit at the edge here of the seam here. So I'm going to terminate the stitch here just as I did earlier to anchor the stitch here. I'm going to do a stitch, get that loop there, put the needle through. So this is how the sleeve looks now that we've just gone around with 1 row of stitching just like this here. Now my stitching job was pretty inconsistent and not the greatest job in the world here. But from here now, what we can do is we can remove the wide temporary stitching that we did earlier here. So I'm just going to use this remover here and just go through around and start removing the stitches. So you can see here, we've done an adjustment before the cuff here. So now the existing cuff is still preserved, but you managed to shorten the length here in that manner here. Now the job is not over yet, but you can see it looks a bit better than earlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to an inverted side here. Now you'll notice here that we've got some excess material here. Now if you had to shorten by a larger amount, say 10 centimeters, then this excess here is going to be a lot wider here. Now in general, it's considered best practice to cut off the excess once you're done with that. So we're going to do that now, and we're going to fold over the excess material and then sew that over. So now after going through with the second row of stitching to tie down the excess material here. This is ultimately what the sleeve looks like now here. And in this case here, because we have the black thread, you can very visibly see the stitching here. But if you were using a white thread, then this work would mostly be invisible here. So that's it here. This is just the very rough showing here of how to adjust a sleeve here. Hopefully it was useful.